Well, hi there. Greetings from Yerevan, Armenia, in my hotel in downtown Yerevan, Armenia. I'm currently working on my Armenian passport. Oh, I can't wait. Every year I get a little closer to all my passports. I'm so excited. But that's not the topic today. And by the way, if you are interested in international topics and how to build a location-independent business, I have another podcast that I do every week called the Sovereign CEO Podcast. If you want to subscribe to that as well, you go to calebjones.com/podcast, and I'm on a bazillion different podcast platforms. No reason why you shouldn't get all my content instead of just some of my content. But today, a sad topic, a topic that I don't like to talk about, but it's true. Let me overview this first. So I am emotionally over the collapse of the Western world. I'm over it. Most people, in particular Americans, and in particular Scandinavians, there's a few other groups in the West, have either not acknowledged that their civilizations are slowly crumbling, or they've acknowledged it, but they rage against it. And that's where people like Donald Trump come in, and Brexit, and oh goody, they reverse Roe v. Wade, everything's gonna be great now. It's those guys. They just don't wanna, they kind of, if you get them behind closed doors, they will admit that America, Europe, Canada is collapsing, but they don't wanna talk about it. They'd rather just kind of play this game with themselves that if they just get real excited about politics on the internet and re-elect Donald Trump or what have you, everything will be fine. Because it's easier to focus on that positive than the horrible negative of your wonderful country, or your formerly, I should say, wonderful country, collapsing before your very eyes, and there's nothing you can do about it, which is the facts. So I came to this conclusion many, many years ago. I mean, I started analyzing this and thinking about it back in 2003. So it's not just something I came up with. That's why I've been talking about Western collapse for 10 plus years. And so I've already gone through the 5 stages of grief in terms of, oh, this sucks, or I don't remember what they are. Denial, anger, I don't know. The last one is acceptance. I reached acceptance on this many years ago. That's why when I moved out of the United States and moved to Dubai, I wasn't sad, I was happy. I couldn't wait to move because I had reached that emotional level of, it sucks that America's collapsing. It was the greatest country in the world, but now it sucks. Now it's just another big collapsing dumb empire. And I've accepted that, and so I'm gonna build my life and focus on my life and my loved ones instead of focusing on a country or civilization that literally mathematically cannot be saved at this point. Moreover, here at Alpha Male 2.0, I teach, what do I teach? Maximum long-term masculine happiness. I teach happiness. That's what I do here at Alpha 2.0. And that's why I focus so much on freedom, because most men, not all men, but most men are happy to the degree to which they are free. They can wake up every morning, I've said this many times, and do whatever they want within the limits of the law and ethics, whatever they want, whenever they want, with whomever they like, without getting permission from anyone. Men tend to be happier when they're allowed to do what they want. Men tend to be more depressed and sad and mopey and low testosterone when they have things like bosses at work or traditional monogamous wives in the home. That's just how this works. And if you don't believe me, look at the studies, they all back this up. So I'm a pretty happy guy. I don't know if you've noticed, I'm a happy guy. I'm just partially some of this is due to my personality. I have a naturally happy personality to a degree. I get some of that from my mom, who's also a naturally happy person. But a lot of it is because I have designed my life, the Alpha Male 2.0 lifestyle. I've spent a lot of years, many years ago, designing a life where financially, logistically, sexually, I'm as free as humanly possible while still having the things that most men, at least men my age, want. You know, wife and mission and purpose and businesses that you care about and things like that. However, that all being said, I'm still a human being, and there are occasionally, not often, but occasionally events that I see occur in terms of Western collapse that do make me sad. And one of these is the fact that all of our alpha males are dying. The true blue old school alphas are dying. For example, as of now, pretty much the entire World War II generation, probably the most alpha generation of the 20th century and the 21st century, they're all dead. They're gone. My grandpa was in that generation. He passed away in his 90s several years ago. These guys are gone. And so we as men no longer have their guidance. We as men no longer have their examples outside of reading about their exploits and reading about things they talked about and said and did. Society can no longer benefit from these men because they're dead. And we're reaching a point now where the alpha males in the baby boomer generation, and I don't like the baby boomer generation, as I've talked about many times and analyzed at my blogs, The baby boomer generation is probably the worst generation in modern American history if you were to add up all the pros and cons of each generation. But that being said, on the overall, there are a lot more alpha males in the baby boomer generation, certainly than there ever were or are in the millennial generation or Gen Z. And even, Generation X, my generation, there are probably more alphas in the baby boomer generation than Gen X, even though Gen X is far more alpha than the millennials or Gen Zs could ever fantasize about being. Every generation gets less alpha, more beta, more lower testosterone, more pussified. And yes, there are many societal and emotional and financial and economic reasons for this. We've talked about these things before. But the alpha males who still are around, still kicking, tend to be older baby boomers. And they are now starting to die. And so I will use an easy example. This is not the best example. I don't like talking about Hollywood actors too much because people go, Hollywood actors. Yeah, but the reason I can talk about them, or the reason I should talk about them in this podcast as an example to give you, is because we all know who they are. I could talk about an old alpha male I know named Earl, but you don't know Earl, okay? So I got to talk about, instead, alpha male actors who are actually alpha males in real life who are starting to die off. Now let me clarify one thing. Just because an actor portrays an alpha male in the movies does not mean he is an actual alpha male in real life, okay? A good example of that would be Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford, I've talked about this in my podcast in the past. The characters of Indiana Jones and Han Solo were huge influences on me as a child, as a young man, in terms of setting the direction of my life. Huge. But Harrison Ford's a big beta. Okay, today he's just a crotchety old man. Back then he was just a nervous beta, and it was horrible to watch. I've mentioned this before, I think. It's horrible to watch Harrison Ford interviewed in the 80s. So the first time I saw him interviewed on TV, I'm like, oh my God, they're going to interview Harrison Ford? This is going to be the greatest day of my life. Han Solo, they're going to interview Han Solo, Indiana Jones. I didn't realize that Han Solo and Indiana Jones were fake characters, and Harrison Ford was a different character. And Harrison Ford gets on, and you can look these clips up on YouTube, by the way. You can watch, Harrison Ford on the Arsenio Hall show, back in the late 80s. He's nervous and he can barely talk, and he's picking his nails, and he gets scared for noises, and beta extreme. It was so depressing to watch that. So yes, there are actors who may portray alphas in movies who are actually beta. And just because they have a lot of muscles does also not make them alphas. I personally know, a lot of huge, jacked guys who are beta as fuck, nowhere near an alpha male. Yes, they go to the gym, and yes, they have a good diet, and yes, they probably shoot up steroids in some cases. So they look good, they look ripped, they look like alphas, but they're not. Celebrity example of that would be, Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel plays alphas very well. I think he's fun to watch in movies. Is he an alpha in real life? No, he's not a total beta, but he's not an alpha, right? Dwayne Johnson, okay, I would say he's an alpha. He was a moderate alpha, not an extreme alpha, but all right, I'll give it to him, maybe. Sure, okay. But again, just because they're in movies and they're ripped does not mean they're alphas. I want to clarify that before I move on, okay? All right. So a few months ago, Ray Liotta passed away. Ray Liotta is fantastic. Pure alpha male in real life. This hard-smoking guy, this guy who swears and talks a gravelly voice, and loved Ray Liotta to death. And he's one of these guys, one of these actors who I really liked better as an old man than as a young man. I didn't think he was all that great when he was young. Goodfellas is, yes, one of the best movies ever made, and he was great in it. But I wasn't really into him in particular. I was more into Robert De Niro in that movie, and certainly Joe Pesci. But as he got older and more crusty old alpha, great, fantastic guy. He's one of these guys I would love to sit down and just talk to for an hour. I would have loved to sat down with Ray Liotta, not interviewed him, but just talk for an hour. Oh my God, it would have been great. And he's gone, because he's old. And he smoked a lot of goddamn cigarettes. But that's what a lot of stubborn alpha male 1.0s do. They say, fuck you. That's what they do, right? Then of course, who just died? Even more devastating to me, at least. This is not devastating, I'm overstating it, but it made me sad. James Caan. Total alpha. Fantastic person. If you want to be entertained, go on YouTube whenever you want and play it in the background while you're working. Don't waste time. And just play any James Caan interview that lasts a decent amount of time, 20 minutes or more. He's fantastic. He is so confident and so funny and so smart and so masculine and so tough. God damn, he was so cool. When he was young, he was cool. When he was old, he was cool. Just a great, great guy. A real life alpha male, just like Ray Liotta was, and now he's gone. And every year, I'm gonna see more and more of these real alpha males famous or otherwise, die. And my point here is that they're not being replaced. Okay, it's not like the olden days where the old alphas would kick off and then there'd be a new generation of alphas to take over. That's not true anymore in an era of Western collapse. Instead, the alphas die and there are no more alphas. It's just a whole shitload of beta males. Now, you may be saying, well, Caleb, is that bad for us? No, it's good for us. I'll cover that a little later in the podcast. But that's still sad. I don't care about society. I haven't for many years. But I can still be a little sad and go, ugh, that sucks. When James Caan, both these guys, when Ray Liotta passed away, I went, okay, eesh. And then James Caan passed away, the next month. I'm like, oh my God. Soon, next few years, certainly in our lifetimes, there will be no more famous celebrity Hollywood alpha males. What few remain will be kind of alphas, like Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, kind of. That's it. One of my biggest mentors from afar, I've never met him, but I've studied him in great detail, and I have for decades of my life. I have tried to emulate him in several respects. Certainly in terms of anti-aging, is Sylvester Stallone. Is Sylvester Stallone perfect? No. Do I agree with everything he's ever said? No. But talk about an alpha male, and other guys will tell you who have worked with Sylvester Stallone, especially when he made the Expendables movies. In a room full of alphas, he's the top alpha. He is so alpha, he is alpha to other alphas. That's how alpha Stallone is. And I've watched various YouTube clips of him in just random social scenarios, not being interviewed and trying to be cool or funny. Random social scenarios where he's just alpha as fuck. And he is well into his 70s. He's an old man and he's still working every day, working out every day. He's motivated, he's strong, he's passionate, he's intelligent. Is he perfect? No, but he's amazing. And if I get even a percentage of that strength and vitality and focus in my 70s, I'm doing great. I'm in the top upper 1% of men in the world, as he is. And also, he is a self-made guy. I tend to, when I look at business examples, I tend to remove people who inherited their wealth, like Donald Trump, or was born in a wealthy family, like Bill Gates. I tend to remove those because I didn't have those advantages. And I purposely, throughout the last 30 years of my life, when I look at examples to follow in terms of successful men, I look for guys who started with nothing. And fucking Sylvester Stallone was homeless. The guy was homeless. Brian Tracy also, by the way, at one point was homeless. These went from homeless to worth hundreds of millions of dollars on their own efforts. Okay? And that kind of guy is going away. The day will come where Stallone is going to die. It could be any time now, frankly. Probably not. He's pretty healthy. But the day can come. Schwarzenegger is another one. Love him to death. I don't treat him as much as a mentor as Stallone, because Schwarzenegger has made a lot of the common mistakes that most men make. Sylvester Stallone has a non-monogamous marriage. Yes, it's true. Look it up. Whereas, Schwarzenegger did the common mistake of getting monogamous and then cheating and getting caught and losing his wife and being sad. But I love Schwarzenegger too. Another real life alpha male in real life, self-made man, intelligent, wisdom is crazy. Love that guy. And the day will come where he's going to no longer be here. Another one is Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood, my God, is still alive. He's in his 90s, still kicking. Amazing. Another amazing alpha, real life alpha male role model. Anytime he's going to go and he's never coming back. And all we'll have these men are, movies and video clips, and we won't have them anymore. And at some point in the next 10 years, 20 years, they're all going to be gone. What will the world look like when there are no more alphas? Now, yes, I'm exaggerating. Well, Caleb, you're an alpha and we're alphas. And yes. But we're the exception, as I've talked about many times. My blogs, my YouTube channels, my podcast, we are the exception. Masculine alpha males are becoming a smaller and smaller and smaller demographic every fucking year. More and more soy boys, more and more beta males, more and more guys in their 20s with testosterone levels as low as like 200. This is becoming the norm now throughout the entire Western world and a lot of the non-Western world. A lot of the Asian world. It's a worldwide phenomenon, minus a few places like Russia. But even Russia is not going to be around forever, trust me. Now, this expands over into non-Hollywood examples. I follow a lot of business alpha males. Brian Tracy, who I've mentioned before. Alpha male, old guy. Has not aged well, but one of my biggest mentors in my 20s and 30s. Fantastic, extraordinary man. He has a lot to teach you. If you've never heard of who Brian Tracy is, go to briantracy.com. He's got like 100 books and he's got everything. He's amazing. He's responsible for a lot of my success in my early life. You got guys like Jim Rogers, these high-end, multi-millionaire, self-made Five Flags investors. Amazing guy. Alpha male. Very nice guy, very pleasant, but alpha. Alphas don't have to be big and tough and dicks. They can be very pleasant, but I've met Jim Rogers, I've talked to him. Alpha. If you watch him in interviews, alpha. Nice alpha. That's what Alpha Male 2.0 is. We're the nice alphas, right? Another example would be Doug Casey. Doug Casey is getting old. He's getting up there. He's looking pretty old lately. Love him to death. Great, mentor from afar. Fantastic person. He's going to be gone soon. These are old guys. Other guys like Robert Ringer, all kinds of business alphas in the business world. In a few years, they're going to be all gone. And it'll just be us and a whole pile of betas. It'll be us, Alpha 2.0s, this little island surrounded by billions of beta males. And a small hunk, little bigger hunk, but still a small hunk of Alpha Male 1.0s. But those are decreasing over time too. I'm always getting asked what I think about Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate is an Alpha Male 1.0. And what I notice with Andrew's content is that the guys who follow him want to be him. More than they want to follow his techniques, they want to be him. The same way that a lot of guys wanted to be Dan Bilzerian a few years ago. They wanted to live that lifestyle of this guy who flies around in private jets and is jacked and bangs all these chicks and doesn't take any shit and yells and screams and doesn't let his women fuck other guys. And a lot of guys, that's a fantasy of men, but it's not like they're following his content, they're following him. Now, why is that? Because he's alpha, right? Now, he's not 2.0, but he's alpha. And you're gonna have a few of those guys, you're gonna have a few Alpha Male 2.0s, and that's it. What will the world look like when it looks like that? When all the alphas are gone. By the way, this also applies to politics and government. You have hardcore alpha male guys in government, some for good, some for evil, some for neutral. Putin is obviously an alpha, but that would be an evil alpha. You got guys like Donald Trump and things like that. But you have, other alphas who are maybe neutral. But what happens when they die? Because Putin's going to die at some point, right? Trump's going to die at some point. These are old guys too. You see the recurring theme here? Most of the alpha males, the hardcore alpha males, in any arena, politics, business, Hollywood, what have you, are old. They're not young up and coming guys. They're old guys. They're not going to be here in 10 years, okay? Trump's not going to be here in 10 years, sorry. Putin's not going to be here in 10 years. Doesn't he have cancer? Or maybe? He's not going to be around in 10 years, probably. So that's the question I ask myself, what will the world look like? And here's an obvious guess. It's going to leave a void in the world. It's going to leave a void in the culture. It's going to leave a void in government. It's going to leave a void in the economics. Who will fill that void? Beta males won't fill that void. So who's left? Who will fill that void? Women. And it will be alpha women, it will be dominance, it will be Hillary Clinton types. So it's not like we're entering into a feminist world, because we're not. Matter of fact, I will do a podcast next about how not feminist the world is. Feminism will fail. It already has in a respect. As the economy gets worse and worse, women cling more to men. They don't cling to other women or themselves, they cling to men. That's how it works. Stats bear this out too. But at the upper echelons of society, you've got, the elites, so I've talked about before. What kind of world will it be where most of the elites will be betas, like these high-end beta males, Elon Musk types, and these badass, dominant alpha females like Hillary Clinton? I don't know. I have my theories, I have my guesses, but I don't think it's gonna be that great. I don't think it's gonna be good. I'm not saying the world run by men was perfect either. A lot of things I don't like about the world run by men, right? But doesn't bode well for the future in terms of the future of the world, in terms of the macro future of politics, economics, foreign relations, things like that. Now, let me give you the positive of this. And I've said this many times, I'm gonna say it again. What I always say when I see men at large doing stupid shit, and men at large doing more stupid shit than they have ever done in my entire lifetime, and I was born in 1972, I'm 50 years old. Whatever I say is, what do I say? More for me, or more for us. More money for us, Alpha Male 2.0s, more women for us, Alpha Male 2.0s. It's true. Now, let's take gender out of the equation. What kind of ideologies will be embraced by culture at large when the alpha males are gone? Or at least it's a teeny tiny fraction of 1%, or whatever small group it'll be. What kind of types of government will be embraced? Small market capitalism? No. Small market nationalism, the kind that Pat Buchanan used to talk about? No. It'll be things like Marxism, socialism, wokeism, a massive welfare state, which, as I've said 10,000 times, is supported by most of today's right-wingers and Trump supporters. They love the welfare state. They just have slightly different opinions on how it should work. These things are going to get worse and increase over time, not get better. How will companies be run? Okay? How will businesses be run when the alphas are all gone? And the only people left are high-performing beta males like Elon Musk. I don't know. I have a lot of theories, but I don't know if it's good. I think you need some alphas in there for a lot of reasons. I mean, that's a big economic thing, but we could talk about that later. Now, let me circle back to more to us, because I thought I wanted to talk about that, and I changed my mind. I think I changed my back. I do want to talk about that. Years ago, I would say 13, 14 years ago or so, 10 years ago plus, on my blog, back when it used to be the Black Dragon blog, and this is at alphamale20.com/blog, it's still there. I wrote an article, which was one of my most popular trafficked articles at the time, called, I don't remember what it's called. It was something like, "You have no competition." Pretty sure that's the name of the article. You can Google it. And in there I said, as an Alpha Male 2.0, we don't really have competition for women. We really don't. And there are many factors for this, but the main factor was because the norm is the beta male now, right? This is far more true now than it was 10 years ago when I wrote it. And I did a whole video. It was a speech I gave in Orlando, and it's on my YouTube channel. You can watch it, my Alpha Male 2.0 YouTube channel, where I talk about how dating for the Alpha Male 2.0 is actually easier than it has ever been, not harder, which is what the red pill guys would have you think. Like, oh, it's harder now. No, it's easier, because the competition is in the toilet. The things that I have experienced in my woman life, just in the past 2 years, things that shocked me, I'm able to pull off because the world is consumed with beta males, and that's what women are accustomed to now, and they hate it. They hate it, including beautiful women, including tens, including high-end women, including young women, including high SMV women, including internet famous women. They're sick to death of all these beta males. And to be fair, to be honest, the really high-end women, okay, the famous Instagram tens and things like that, they're also fed up with the Alpha Male 1.0s. Now, there's very few of those guys left, and they're smaller every year in terms of the number of guys. But they're pissed off about them too. When you listen to these women talk, and I've talked to a lot of women about this in details, it's fascinating to hear them talk about this. They will say, you know, here's the problem. Men don't approach me. They're scared to. When they do, or when they're forced to, they're all nervous and they suck, and I'm completely turned off. The only men who have the balls to approach me are the guys who are the ultra super players. And I don't want, now, assuming they're over the age 25, when the woman's under 25, she doesn't care about this. Over 25, she goes, I don't want a player. I did that. I don't want a super, hey, I don't want a guy who I know is gonna bang me twice, I'll never see him again. I don't want that. And that's 100% of their male experience with men. And you come along as the Alpha Male 2.0. You're confident, you're alpha, you're strong, but you're nice, you're pleasant, you don't come off like a douchebag, you don't come off like a player, you listen to her, you nod, which is kind of a beta male trait, but it's useful on first, second dates. You empathize, you repeat things back to her, you ask her for more detail, and you listen, and you don't talk during dates. And then when you date them as FBs, MLTRs, OLTR, you never tell them what to do, you never get jealous, you never bug them, who are you with? You give them all this freedom, but yet you're still alpha, and they know in the back of their head that you're fucking other girls, and eventually they do know because you tell them. They're in, and they stay in. And they're in a lot easier than you think. The caliber of women, without getting any details, the caliber of women that I have been with over the past 3 years, 4 years, somewhere in there, was far less difficult to get to the goal line than I thought it would be. Many times the past few years, though not lately, now I'm used to this, but many times I'm like, if I go after her, it's gonna be a fucking nightmare. I'm gonna have to work my ass off. I'm gonna have to be perfect. I'm gonna have to be I can't do anything wrong. I gotta, dot all my I's, cross the T's. If it's a sugar daddy scenario, it's gonna be thousands of dollars. There's no way I would shell out $5,000 because that's what she'll want. I was totally wrong on all those things. Easy as an Alpha Male 2.0. And I wouldn't be able to accomplish these things in my woman life and in my business life, because they both apply, had there been a strong decrease in alpha males. So this is the positive behind this very sad thing that does bother me, is that the less alpha males in society we have, the worse off society will be, the more sad it will be, especially with these guys who you like and look up to and they die, but the more for us. So I did a video maybe 2 years ago where I said, one of my first videos I did on YouTube, I think, where I said, this is our time. This is the alpha male's time. This is the alpha male 2.0's time. As alpha male 2.0, this is our time. Alpha male 2.0, and I said this in the Unchained Man, it was true, 8-9 years ago when I said it, it's still true. It's more true today when I first said it. Alpha male 2.0 is the type of man perfectly calibrated toward the world today. The alpha male 1.0 is calibrated toward the world of ancient Babylon 2,000 years ago, okay? Ancient Rome, shit like that. Alpha male 1.0s did very well back then. Today, alpha male 1.0s are having a lot of trouble. There are a few ones that are doing well, Andrew Tate, a few other guys, but most are having lots of problems, okay? And beta males are fucked, as I've talked about many times. If you follow alpha 2.0 lifestyle models, you will not believe how easy it becomes once you actually start taking action on these things. And it's not just woman stuff, it's business stuff too. Because again, your competition in business is who? Especially if you're niche. Nobody. Nobody. It's nobody. I have virtually no competition in terms of my business life too. So when I say you have no competition, it's both areas of your life, women and business. It's true. So this makes me sad, and I'm going to continue to be sad when these old alphas, shed this mortal coil over the next, 5 to 10 years. I'm not going to have a fun time watching this happen. It's going to be shitty, and it's going to be very bad, probably accelerate Western collapse and exacerbate the dark age which we've entered into. But on a personal level, we will benefit. And I say that as the royal we. You will only benefit if you do the things we talk about at Alpha Male 2.0. Cool? Cool. All right. See you next week. Have fun.